We've been talking about these new chapters and new books for Tesla for a while now. I know some of you are sick of hearing it and want results now. I get it. But when we really understand the transition that Tesla has chosen to take, we at the very least have to acknowledge the incredible belief that the team has that this is the right vision. Tesla could have easily just continued to dominate EV sales, boost gross margins incrementally over time, tinker with new models, and continue to scale the energy business. But instead, thanks to silicon and neural network advancements, it's effectively giving up the former altogether. For a $1 trillion plus company to move like this, to abandon easy profits like this, to knowingly upset some customers like this, will certainly be studied in future decades. But most importantly for us, it should tell us everything we need to know. Tesla is the best at making EVs. You cannot argue it. Don't even start with the Chinese because most of them are still not profitable. So in my eyes, they don't count in a free market without heavy subsidization. Tesla is the best in the world with the best supply chain leverage in the world. And yet, here they are saying very loudly, we have found a bigger gold mine to pursue. The technology is here. We have the talent. So much so that our entire mission has to change. And some early Tesla fans will have to seriously reassess if they're still on board as they once were with these new plans moving forward. Because 2026 is the year. It's here. Tesla is set to spend $20 billion on capex this year, nearly twice as much as they've ever spent in 1 year in its history. And that number does not include the fully vertically integrated solar production or the Tesla Terafab that sounds like it's actually going to happen. So we need to sit with this for a second. 99% of public companies on Earth are incremental. A new product here and there, a new efficiency here and there, minor improvements to earn a bit more revenue and squeak out a bit more profitability while sticking to what they know and not risking a proven business model. But this is not Tesla, and I think this makes a lot of people uncomfortable whether they recognize it or not yet. Not just because of the risk, but because of the time component. Making gigantic shifts in strategy like this while solving some of the world's hardest problems, things that have never been done before, just take time and years, not months. And not everybody is willing to wait. But in this case, as we've been saying for a long time, those that are willing, I believe are going to be handsomely rewarded because what Tesla is talking about doing really is unprecedented. First of all, just real quick, the word from the Tesla advisors is that hardware 4.5 debacle was just a mislabeling error and all of the cars are still shipping regular hardware 4. I did check the EPC and it's been updated to just hardware 4. And even if there were some minor adjustment to hardware 4 that Tesla's now just covering up so as to not deal with customers freaking out unnecessarily, we can be confident nothing will change from our side, so we can act as if it never happened and everyone can breathe easy. And to get it out of the way, I was a bit sad after hearing officially about Model S and X production ending after Q2 this year. As it turns out, our little birdie was correct a few weeks ago when I shared that rumor. I always knew there was a chance, but I really didn't want it to be true, at least not yet. Ashley and I were both hoping to upgrade to an S and X in the future, but since they'll likely never have AI5, that's off the table. Those production lines at Fremont will be repurposed and used for Optimus production, and eventually they'll be capable of 1 million units per year. So obviously, it's a great move from an investor perspective, but quite unfortunate as a consumer. And as of Q3, average selling prices will start to come down a bit, but remember, the SX and Cybertruck combined made up about 3% of Tesla's production last year. This decision will likely mean a loss of about $1 billion in quarterly revenue starting in Q3, and maybe some would-be S and X buyers move down to the Model Y or 3 or to the Cybertruck, but I do think many will look elsewhere if they typically buy in that price range. On the bright side, these models were definitely contributing to inefficiencies for Tesla's cost absorption, running way below the annual capacity of about 100,000 per year, and certainly Optimus long-term will generate profits far in excess of what the S and X could ever do. But still a sad moment, which sounds weird talking about inanimate objects, but they were aspirational vehicles for some of us, and the very reason Tesla was able to survive as a company. As Elon said, they will always continue to exist in the fleet, just not in production, and Tesla will continue to service these vehicles as long as they're in the fleet. Now, with that out of the way, I'm pretty excited about Tesla finally planning to ramp solar. And not the solar roof, which is still out of reach for most, but actual solar panels. And the new and improved version that they recently launched with the new financing options that will be used both on Earth and in space. And Elon did clarify it will be 100 gigawatts per year just from Tesla. So between Tesla and SpaceX combined, they'll be targeting 200 gigawatts per year. And remember, cumulatively, Tesla has likely deployed about 6 gigawatts of solar in its entire lifetime. And now Tesla's in the early phases of producing solar cells to the tune of 100 gigawatts per year. And most importantly, Elon said this would be fully vertically integrated. He said across the entire supply chain, from raw materials all the way to finished solar panels at this new solar cell fabrication plant. Likely in Buffalo, perhaps at an expanded location, we'll see on that, but this clearly means Elon is dead serious about solar and batteries on Earth and these solar-powered AI data centers in space, and as we predicted, Tesla would play a big role in solar and perhaps on compute too, but most definitely on the solar side. I am expecting solar to make its way back as a line item on Tesla's financials sometime in early 2027, but it'll be interesting to see how fast things ramp, as it sounds like it's still in the planning phase for now. But here's the thing, one of the biggest largely vertically integrated solar producers in the US, First Solar, is only doing about 10 gigawatts per year. But even still, its gross margins can push 40%, especially with IRA production incentives. So long term, if Tesla were to ever hit that 100 gigawatts per year, they would be earning about $15 billion in IRA production credits just for that year. Now, that is assuming that the cells and the modules and the wafers and the polysilicon were all sourced from the USA. But I just want everybody to know this really is unprecedented scale for US production, and it will take years to ever get to that number. So I just want people to know this is not just Tesla restarting solar production and ramping it up incrementally. Based on today's numbers, these targets would make Tesla the biggest solar producer in the USA by an order of magnitude. And as I said, it'll take a few years if they get there at all, and by then companies like First Solar will be producing more. But what this means, Tesla is planning to take a business line that was effectively dead for all effective purposes the past few years and resurrect it to the point where it may generate in the neighborhood of $300 billion per year in revenue. It's simple math, 100 gigawatts a year at, we'll call it $3 a watt, that's $300 billion. And listen, I definitely have my doubts that Tesla will actually hit that number, but even if they fall 50% short, even 50 gigawatts would be a very substantial business. Many of us love the peace of mind coming from Tesla's tireless safety efforts. And I want the same thing for all of us off the roads too. A few years ago, Dan Hollander purchased personal information about Judge Esther Salas and her family. He then traveled to their home, killed her son, and critically wounded her husband. And he got this personal information from people search sites, a type of data broker. Now, I want to be clear, there's no single tool that can fully protect you, but one practical step you can take is removing your family's information from these people search data brokers. Delete Me, today's sponsor, makes that process a lot easier, as it removes your private information from hundreds of different data brokers, and the full list is right here, and they're constantly updating this list with the ever-changing data broker landscape. You can also contact Delete Me for custom removal requests, and you'll get a detailed report every quarter showing you the status of your removal at every data broker. Plus, Delete Me keeps monitoring these sites, so when sites try to get your information again, Delete Me will ensure that it stays removed, a task you just can't do on your own. Delete Me is an American company, and it's all that they do, so you can head to joindeleteme.com/electrified to get 20% off using my code Electrified, linked below, or by using the QR code on the screen. And for the other announcement that Elon and Tesla are yet to make, they said they'll share more soon, the Terafab. Elon specifically said a fab with logic, memory, and packaging. All three. This needs unpacked because the vast majority of fabs do not have all three of these. Semiconductor manufacturing is usually pretty highly specialized, and when you hear wafer fabrication, you know what happens in the clean rooms with all the massive special equipment. That's the logic and memory production, the parts of the chip that generally happen first. The logic usually refers to the chips handling the computation and making decisions, the brains with the billions of transistors, the CPUs, the GPUs, the system on chips. But for Tesla's AI5 and beyond, they're not going to use GPUs or image processors, as Tesla has found a way to remove those from earlier designs. And then for the memory phase, it's in the definition. These are usually a stack of memory dies, sometimes called HBM for high bandwidth memory. And this is storage that is optimized for reading and writing speeds and capacity, not decision making. And then toward the back end of production, you'd have packaging, which is usually done at a separate location altogether with its own specialized techniques, where they cut the wafers and test the dies and then put them into protective packaging. It's this step where the logic die and the memory stacks are usually integrated into a single cohesive package. So Tesla would likely be doing this with AI 7 or 8, whatever version it's on, by the time the fab is ready. And the final package, we'll call it AI 8, then has the logic compute and the HBM tightly coupled together side by side, and that's what's used in Tesla vehicles, Optimus, and maybe data centers in space. And so why would Tesla want to be the first of its kind to have a US fab integrating all three phases? Well, my assumption is that the resurrected Tesla Dojo, that's likely to combine many of the AI series chips and stacking them together in a bespoke solution that Tesla creates in-house. So that packaging step is going to be crucial, not just for the individual AI series chip and combining the logic and memory aspects, but to also create the new and improved Dojo stack. And neither Samsung nor TSMC integrate all three of these steps, the logic, memory, and packaging in a single fab. So again, what Tesla is planning to do here is largely unprecedented. Samsung and TSMC's sites do not include the memory production, and then Samsung actually outsources its packaging overseas or through partners as well. So this all sounds great for Tesla: pure vertical integration, de-risking the supply chain from geopolitics, ensuring Tesla is not supply constrained in a few years, making sure Tesla is not paying margins to anyone else. And it has its bespoke logic, memory, and packaging in one house, in one location. And as Elon said on the call, memory is the bigger limiter than the AI logic right now, and there are no advanced memory fabs at scale in the US. And Tesla is actively working with its partners to improve the situation, but it still probably will not be enough for the scale Tesla is expecting to hit. But as mentioned, the cost for all of this is not included in that $20 billion Tesla's planning to spend this year. It would be in addition to it. And we're likely talking easily over an additional $15 billion just for the Terafab when it's all said and done for what Tesla is talking about. And I will say it could easily be much higher than that, which means yes, even though Tesla has $44 billion on the balance sheet, it admitted it's likely going to need to do a cap raise in the near future. Vibov said Tesla's been talking to banks, and it sounded like that's how Tesla plans to do it. But he did say they still have to figure out if it's going to be debt or other means. But the short of it, if Tesla spends what it says it will and does not scale robotaxi or energy quickly, then we may see some negative free cash flow quarters on the horizon. Now, this really is not a huge deal. Even if all 4 quarters this year were negative and free cash flow ended up negative $5 billion for the year, that still doesn't erase the balance sheet fortress in 1 year. But it is something to be prepared for, as some people will undoubtedly be concerned without the larger context, especially if Tesla starts spending on the Terafab and or solar production this year, adding to that $20 billion capex number. So just know that could easily balloon to $30 billion this year. I do think that's a worst case scenario, as Tesla's not going to want to take on too much this year, but if the chip wall, as Elon calls it, is going to hit in 3 to 4 years, Tesla needs to break ground on the fab basically now. And I just have to say, it's so easy to get in this mindset that we all just expect Tesla to pull off everything that it tries. And everything Tesla has achieved over the past decade plus gives us data points why we can have confidence in that. But let me be clear, Tesla building a Terafab would far and away be the most ambitious and the biggest risk project Tesla has ever undertaken. If you thought Tesla making 4680s in-house with DBE was a stretch, well, a Terafab is orders of magnitude beyond even that. And yes, of course, Tesla would have plenty of help from partners like TSMC and Samsung, but just know things go wrong with the construction of these factories all the time, delaying projects by years, ballooning the capex by tens of billions of dollars. So I'm just trying to say, as good and well connected as Tesla is positioned, there are still no guarantees that a terafab is successful in the end. So just know it is a massive risk. The team knows it, Elon knows it, and yet they might do it anyway, which again tells us a lot. They're expecting to hit, you guessed it, unprecedented scale in the next 3 to 4 years. I did really enjoy going through the slide deck because Tesla gave us some new charts and graphics and metrics which we've been waiting for. The most important one for now is the FSD subscription metrics. Tesla now has an active FSD subscriptions line, and it's important to point out the footnote that says it includes both upfront payments and monthly subscriptions and excludes free trials. So as of Q4, the number was 1.1 million people that have either paid for FSD outright or are paying the monthly subscription. Then on the call, we learned that of that 1.1 million number, 70% were upfront purchases, meaning 330,000 people are paying the monthly subscription. So the majority chose to buy it outright, and now that option is going away, meaning Tesla's auto gross margins are likely going to take a negative hit starting in Q1, as there will be a month and a half where that's not an option to buy FSD outright. So rather than getting that $8,000 upfront, Tesla will instead get $100, which will bring margins down in the short term. But the 330,000 monthly subscribers is $396 million per year in FSD revenue, and effectively all of it serves as profit. And the FSD subscription number, including both ways, grew 25% in 2022, 20% in 23, 33% in 24, and 38% in 2025. So those are not take rates, they're just growth rates from the raw number of people paying for FSD each year. The actual adoption rate for FSD is still around 12%, as Vaibhav told us recently, and it looks like Tesla's just taking the 1.1 million active number divided by 8.9 cumulative deliveries to get a 12.3% take rate. And I'm not expecting that number to go up materially until unsupervised is available. And sadly, when Tesla was asked about the limiting factor for robotaxi and customer unsupervised scaling, we got a whole lot of nothing from Ashok. He did mention some charging limitations that they would have ended up seeing if they scaled unsupervised faster, but he didn't say anything more than that. And of course, that doesn't at all address the limiter for customer cars getting unsupervised. But Lars said Tesla is uniquely positioned with its charging and service centers and is the only company that is capable of scaling ahead of the autonomy tsunami. And we got a bit firmer timelines for upcoming cities. Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Las Vegas are all expected to go live in the first half of this year. Right now, the population Tesla's covering between the Bay Area and Austin is about 9 million people. Dallas would add 7 million, Houston another 7 million, Phoenix 4 million, Miami 6 million, Orlando 2 million, Tampa 3 million, and Vegas 3 million. And of course, these numbers aren't perfect, and some of these people will be outside of the initial geofence in each city, but Tesla will go from the roughly 9 million people covered today to adding an additional 32 million people that are at least somewhat close to being in the coverage area. So that's a rough 3x in robotaxi population coverage growth in just the first half of this year. And Elon did clarify there's already no more chase cars in Austin, and David Moss finally got his unsupervised ride, and it was indeed without a chase car. Elon said the amount of autonomy will increase monthly and tripled down on the Cybercab not having wheels or pedals, saying there's no fallback. It's either going to drive itself or it will not drive, which means Tesla is still very confident that unsupervised will be fully ready for wherever the Cybercab is deployed first, and the slow production ramp at first won't run into regulatory hurdles this year. The Tesla team said there's about 500 vehicles in the robotaxi ride-hail fleet, more than the public tracker, and the discrepancy is largely from the Bay Area data. Plus, the team said the actual number of vehicles that's live at any time fluctuates based on demand, so it's not going to be a static number. And then the team said that number should roughly double every month, and if we assume that 500 number is true, That would mean 1,000 in February, 2,000 in March, 4,000 in April, 8,000 in May, and 16,000 in June. Now listen, let's not get crazy and read too far into this. I am not setting my expectations there at all. But maybe for the next 2 or 3 months, those numbers can hold true. And if Tesla can average even 300 vehicles in each of the 9 cities listed, that would be the bar to surpass Waymo's fleet size, as that would be about 2,700 vehicles nationwide for Tesla. The latest number we have for Waymo is about 2,500. And sure, Tesla will start with supervision in each new city, but again, the timeline should continually compress for how long they're needed in each new city. I'm hoping for 4 to 5 months for the next one, down from 7 months in Austin. And I've said it before, but I'll repeat it, Tesla now needs to be viewed as a transportation as a service company. Full transparency, as an investor, I love this. It's the right decision. But as a consumer, I do hate this. It's uncomfortable. For me personally, no matter what happens with autonomy, I still have plans to own personal family vehicles. I'm a big fan of ownership. I don't want to hail a vehicle every time I want to go somewhere. And frankly, even when unsupervised is pretty widespread, I'm still going to want the ability to drive. It's an experience that I still find a lot of joy in doing. So yes, like many of you, I strongly dislike Tesla moving away from personal vehicle ownership because of course, the only vehicles I want to buy, the only company I want to support is Tesla. So yeah, I really wish we could have the best of both worlds here, but we're not going to get it. And I think the sooner all of us can actually process this and internalize it, the better off everybody will be. We did hear a comment from Elon that the Cybertruck production line might go fully autonomous at some point, meaning a Cybertruck without wheels and pedals is likely to be used for cargo delivery, which I do think is great and will help a bit to utilize more of the unused factory capacity over time. But I wouldn't panic just yet, as I hope that Tesla will also build Cybertrucks with wheels and pedals for as long as customers are placing orders. Because clearly it's the last bigger vehicle that Tesla will offer for personal ownership beyond Q2 of this year. And I don't think it would be that much of a challenge for Tesla to run that line in parallel, meaning they can easily produce a Cybertruck without wheels and pedals and others that have wheels and pedals, and just strategically deploy them as the demand warrants month by month. And especially for a vehicle with off-road capability where people like taking adventures and they want a steering wheel. For me, I do think it would really just be adding insult to injury if Tesla were to make that line fully autonomous, no wheels and pedals anytime soon. But I am fully preparing myself for anything because it could not be more clear Tesla is all in on this autonomous transportation as a service future. And then just so casually, on the battery front, Tesla said, now we produce dry electrode for 4680 cells with both anode and cathode made in Austin. Which was confusing wording at first, but thankfully, Bon Eggleston from Tesla confirmed to Jordan that both electrodes are now using the dry process. And how this was not celebrated or even called out during the call is beyond me. This was years in the making and a massive breakthrough that even Elon was doubting would happen as recently as last year. Tesla had cracked the code for DBE on the anode side for a while now, but the cathode was proving to be far more difficult, and Elon said harder than expected. But Tesla said its 4680 cell was already the lowest cost per kilowatt hour compared to any of its suppliers, and that was before this DBE breakthrough on the cathode. And Tesla has confidence in reliability because it's now using 4680s in vehicles in non-structural packs. And this matters beyond just lower COGS, cost of goods sold, because Tesla said the biggest constraint right now globally is battery packs. And you may ask, well, how's that the case if Tesla's auto sales are down for the second year in a row? To which I'd say tariffs and geopolitics are ever evolving, and I'm sure Tesla's been scrambling to minimize the tariff impact. Because Tesla called it out, the tariff impact was $500 million just in Q4 alone. So Tesla producing 4680s in America with a dry process for the anode and the cathode, with the cathode factory in Austin now in the early ramp phase, and the lithium refinery in the same phase is already having a positive impact on Tesla's margins. And further, it's helping it to avoid these tariff impacts. It may be minor now, but this will continually gain relevance. So, as the 4680 program scales with the full dry process, I can't articulate how important this is. Because remember, the Semi and the Cybercab are supposed to use 4680 cells. And before yesterday, I was thinking Tesla would have to do that with a wet process for the cathode, meaning using solvents and coating and energy-intensive drying with these massive ovens which are slow and becomes a production bottleneck. But no, with one line and zero fanfare on the call, zero analyst questions on this, Tesla implied the solvent step is removed entirely. Those football field-sized drying ovens are no longer needed. The energy used during production will be much lower. The factory can now have more lines and production will be potentially 3 to 5 times faster at scale, and the overall costs could be in the neighborhood of 30% lower. And sure, there are some other companies working on DBE for both electrodes, but they're all still in the very early pilot phase. So if Tesla's actually ready to scale 4680 production with the full dry process, it's likely to be the only company doing so at any type of scale. And this is just a small part of why I jokingly shared this.
Oh, wow! Wow!
Tesla is now doing what battery companies with decades of experience haven't figured out yet. So I could take another 5 to 10 minutes and ramble on about this, but just do not overlook the importance of this. It really is a major breakthrough and has huge implications for Tesla's battery pack costs in the Semi and the Cybercab, the latter being a vehicle that will dwarf the rest of Tesla's lineup by orders of magnitude over time. Ordinarily, I wouldn't even touch on margins because most quarters it doesn't matter in this phase of Tesla's business. But this time around, it's important to understand Tesla's capital efficiency as we head into a year where Tesla's spending is going to be historic. Tesla's auto gross margins were 20.1%, the first time that's happened in 2 years. And it would have been over 22% if not for the tariff impact. During a quarter when Tesla's auto sales were down year over year and auto revenue was down year over year. Average selling prices were down about $700 quarter over quarter. But here's the thing, Tesla's cost per vehicle was down about $1,600 per vehicle quarter over quarter. It's now sitting at the lowest level ever at $34,069. So despite the negative tariff impact throughout the supply chain, and despite the lower fixed cost absorption, Tesla still managed to drop the average COGS per vehicle by $1,600, which is incredible cost discipline. And things like the 4680 breakthrough will certainly help keep the COGS as low as possible during this transition period. Shifting to Optimus, I would have loved a bit more color on what's going on, but we're going to have to wait until later in Q1, as Tesla said it would unveil Gen 3 this quarter, and Gen 3 is going to have the latest hand design. This is the first design that's meant for mass production, and the first production line is being prepared as we speak. The supply chain is being put in place, and Tesla expects to eventually hit 1 million units per year of Optimus V3 at the Fremont factory using the Model S and X lines. And production of Gen 3 is expected to start before the end of this year, which confirms what we've been saying. If there's even a few thousand Optimi produced this year, that would be a win. And there is still a world where production doesn't actually start this year because Tesla did put that qualifier in there saying they expect production to start. And we know the beginning of production is going to be painfully slow, and so my expectation currently for Optimus production this year is maybe a few hundred units. But I will say I'll be satisfied even if Tesla just starts production at all on these new and reformatted production lines in Fremont. Of course, Elon had some strong commentary saying this version, Gen 3, would be general purpose, meaning it can observe human behavior. It can be shown a video, it can be given verbal instructions, and then Optimus would be able to learn what to do. And so if all of that is true, which is a big if, it would be profound. The world is not expecting anything close to a generalized humanoid anytime soon. And Elon did say Optimus V4 would be made in Austin at the new factory that's being built now at much higher volumes. But that likely won't start until early 2028 for production there, and so for now, it's it's just promises. But this was all paired with Elon saying there is no significant Optimus competition outside of China, which is a direct you-know-what slap across Brett Adcock's face. And listen, I have no ill will toward Brett, but I don't like how he keeps saying Figure has the most advanced humanoid, not really showing Tesla any respect. And I know for a fact there are significant numbers of people out there doubting Tesla's progress with Optimus because they haven't come out with any demos. And meanwhile, Figure's coming out with new demos seemingly every week. So look, I get it, but let me be clear. Tesla is not trying to raise money. Figure is. That tells us everything we need to know. Figure needs to stay top of mind. They need to find investors. For Tesla, it's basically the opposite. They want to keep things as quiet as possible, not give away any clues. They need to just put their heads down and make it work. But for whatever it's worth, as I've said, I do think Tesla is going to shock everyone when it's time for the demo. Tesla's foundational world model and software and AI prowess is so much further along than anyone else. The learnings from FSD are going to be a huge head start for Tesla. And then with Cortex 2 coming online this summer, the brain is going to be switched on for Optimus, and the training progress will accelerate exponentially. So for now, the pieces are being put in place. The foundation is being built, and Tesla's vertical integration and extra design time on a true all-purpose hand may have pushed the timing back a bit, but in the end, I'm still very confident it will be worth it. For the first time, we learned that the xAI partnership with Tesla will incorporate Grok being used to manage the robotaxi fleet and to find the most efficient way to deploy vehicles and charging and service and so on. Elon said it would be way better than managing it manually with heuristics. So not only did Tesla invest $2 billion into xAI as part of its latest funding round, but this sounds like the start of a much deeper and more official partnership where xAI will help Tesla to deploy real-world AI even more efficiently than it already is. So this was definitely a pleasant surprise. I still wish it would have happened sooner, but better late than never. And listen to this. Today there are reports that SpaceX is in merger talks with xAI, which would bring rockets, Starlink, and Grok under one umbrella to IPO together. So who knows if it's true, but potentially another data point in this convergence of the Musk empire. Reuters said the plan would give fresh momentum to SpaceX's effort to launch data centers into orbit. Under the proposed merger, shares of xAI would be exchanged for shares in SpaceX. Two entities have been set up in Nevada to facilitate the transaction. Reuters could not determine the value of the deal, its primary rationale, or its potential timing. They said there are corporate filings in Nevada that show that those entities were set up on January 21st. One of them is an LLC that has both SpaceX and Brett Johnson, the company's CFO, as managing members, while the other entity lists just Brett as the company's only officer. The filings don't contain any additional info about the purpose of the companies or their role in any deal. Whoever leaked this said that some xAI executives could be given the option to receive cash instead of SpaceX stock as part of the deal. But a final agreement has not been signed, and the timing and structure of the transaction remain fluid. They said folding xAI into SpaceX could boost the company's footing for major defense contracts at the Pentagon, which has sought to ramp up AI adoption in its military networks. And if you missed it, xAI does have a contract worth as much as $200 million to provide Grok products to the Pentagon. So SpaceX and xAI merging, I could see it. xAI is still relatively small, although the valuation is outsized. But also tonight, we got more. Bloomberg reporting that SpaceX is considering a merger with Tesla, in addition to an alternative combination with xAI. So now we have SpaceX, xAI, and Tesla all in play for a potential merger. But as expected, the talks appear to be in the early stage. But they're saying it could eventually lead to at least one company folding into SpaceX. Two scenarios are being hashed out. In one, SpaceX and Tesla would merge. That one is from Bloomberg with unnamed insiders. And the other option is SpaceX and xAI would combine, as we went over. Reuters said a merger between SpaceX and xAI could take place ahead of a planned SpaceX IPO this year. And those filings that were found in Nevada, they're called K2 Merger Sub Inc. and K2 Merger Sub 2 Inc. This suggests Elon is keeping all options open. And of course, they're saying a SpaceX and Tesla tie-up could align Tesla's energy storage business with the data center and space idea as well. Chamath said a merger between SpaceX and Tesla would instantly create the Berkshire Hathaway of the modern century. The capital raising and operational efficiencies, if both were together, are obvious. If this were to happen, it would also bring us one step closer to having one equity instrument for all things Elon, which many would want to buy. And for what it's worth, today, Beth Bezos shared a post Elon SpaceX in talks to merge with xAI before IPO, saying SpaceX will be the Dyson Swarm company. We're locked in for Kardashev too. To which Elon replied, saying, yeah. So obviously all of this would warrant a video on its own, and I'm happy to put one together. Just remember, there's a pretty big delta between a proposal as kind of assessing all options before we do go ahead with this IPO, and one of these mega mergers actually happening. To me, xAI and SpaceX feels more likely than SpaceX and Tesla right now, but I will say anything can happen. And I'm genuinely curious, what are you all rooting for? No further details were shared, but this is obviously one to watch. I do have some thoughts on this. I won't share them today due to time, but if this drumbeat persists, we will be talking about it soon enough. You can be mad and jaded and disappointed about short-term micro timelines being missed, but if you can really zoom out and look 5 to 10 years ahead and you're still not optimistic about where all of this can go, then I would just say respectfully, I think you need to reassess your emotions. Because in my opinion, they might be getting the best of you because all of the data arrows are pointing to an incredibly special decade. And then as a consumer, I'm very excited for deeper Grok integration with our Tesla vehicles beyond just navigation. I really want to control all parts of the car with Grok, and I have to assume that's slowly going to roll out over time. The new Roadster demo is still expected to come in April. MKBHD doubted it once again, to which Elon said the new Roadster will be incredible. Elon said today, just send money to all citizens from the US government magic money computers, actually, so long as the output of goods and services exceeds the money supply, which it will with AI robotics at scale, everything will be fine. And I know, it all sounds insane. It really does. And I do have my doubts about if it's actually going to be a good thing for humanity in the long term. But I cannot ignore the potential outcomes of lifting millions of people out of poverty, to connect them to the world, to give them cheap, accessible, safe transport, to give them a personal helper, to give them access to top-tier medical care, to secure the grid around the world, to continually harness more power from the sun, to offer cheaper electricity, and to give people tools that were once impossible. All of this, I think, really is a very exciting future. Not that it won't come without trade-offs and not that there won't be downsides, but I really do see a world where all of the positives outweigh the negatives. But having said that, given how drastically Tesla has changed, I do want to say it's okay if you don't fully support the new vision and the new mission. Many people fell in love with Tesla, the car company, and the energy company, and what Tesla has morphed into is just not that. This is the year Tesla is going to rip the band-aid off of the old ways and announce to the world loudly they're going all in on business lines that didn't even exist for Tesla just a few years ago. There are going to be setbacks and delays and micro-missed timelines in the near term, but it should be easier than ever to zoom out and see the bigger picture of where all of this is headed. And if at this point you don't think Tesla is best positioned to carry us into this future, then there's nothing I can say that's going to change your mind. I'm just here documenting the news and the story and the journey, enjoying the ride, celebrating the milestones, and hoping I get another 10 plus years on this earth to watch it all unfold. For Tesla to become the biggest company in the world, it's going to have to do things that no other company is willing or able to do. And 2026 is the year of proving that Tesla is willing. They very clearly see the path forward and are putting all of their chips in the middle of the table. It's the year they're going full send into the next book of the Tesla story. Just remember, every time there's a disappointment or a setback or a failure, go back to what Elon has said. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. When something is important enough, you do do it even if the odds are not in your favor. And for a long time, the odds were not in Tesla's favor, but now with all of the experience and the talent that they have, it may be bold, but I genuinely believe that the odds are actually in Tesla's favor to pull off everything they're talking about. I just think it'll be more of the same, making the impossible merely late.